Okay, so whenever I first heard about this game, I was reading an article over on Gamatsu about it, and it sounded really good. This was going to be like a reborn version of Tsukuyomi the Divine Hunter, which was like a mobile game, but they were turning it into a console game, kind of like Octopath Traveler 0 and Another Eden Begins. And I was like, oh, this is going to be really freaking cool. But then it went on about some sort of like generative AI model that generated new cards based upon what you did in the game, and I'm just like, what in the world is this? Well, I have gotten to the bottom of it all for y'all because I was actually able to interview Kazuma Kaneko himself and ask him all about the game and even play the game to let y'all know everything about it. And I definitely do think it's worth a sub as you come and you join my party and you level on up with me. Thank you so much for your sub, your like, and your brand new hype. It helps me out a ton. So I went to LA, I was there for 3 days, and I got to play the game for like roughly an hour or so. Then afterwards, I interviewed him for about a half an hour too. So first things first, let's get into the nitty gritty of what this game is actually all about. Like I said, it is a reborn version of a mobile game. At first, they weren't actually going to create any sort of like console game like this, but you know, as the game went on, it started to sunset, the fans started clamoring for it, so they thought, you know, why not? Let's just go ahead and do it. And it is a card battler RPG, kind of like Batten Kaitos or something like that, and they ended up choosing 3,600 cards to be implemented into this game, chosen by Kaneko himself, as well as the mobile community. They had something like 20,000 cards in the original game, but for game balance purposes and all that kind of stuff, they only wanted to use like the really good ones, the ones that he himself actually wanted, their favorite cards. All that being said, like the Switch console version does not include any generative AI at all, and you don't need to be connected to the internet in order to play it. I extensively asked him about this during the interview portion. I talked extensively about that, and they assured me no generative AI is to be used in this console version of the game. But we will get into how it was used in the mobile version later on. But first, let's talk about what the game is like. In a nutshell, it's kind of like a roguelike dungeon crawler, card battling, turn-based RPG, where you choose one of 4 different protagonists to defeat the Jinma who's invaded the Tower of Babel, and then ascend to the summit of it to uncover the terrifying truth of the world. So, each of the 4 different protagonists represent like a different alignment. You know, this is Shin Megami Tensei, so there's good, evil, natural, and then even a chance to play as the antagonist themselves. How cool. So you really do get to see all the different viewpoints of everybody out there. Each stage represents one floor of the tower, and you'll like go down the different hallways, and you'll decide, do I want to go right, do I want to go left? You'll be able to see on the minimap any kind of like spots of interest, healing points, question marks, rooms, enemies, bosses, that sort of thing. Then each time that you do enter a room, you'll normally be faced with some sort of like moral dilemma, and then you could choose to, you know, how you want to answer that moral dilemma will actually directly affect your stats, such as your currency, your mana pieces, your HP, maybe you'll get a new card, but not only that, it'll also directly affect your alignment at the end of the stage. Whether you want to help them out, ignore them, fight them, whatever, it's all up to you, and that will determine what card the goddess Okami will grant you based upon your actions. And it can also shift your alignment as well, shift it from like law or good to like chaos or evil. And it is at this point of the stage, at the end of the stage, that will gain all your levels as well. You don't like level up at the end of the combat, you level up at the end of each stage. All your experience points are added up and you'll get your various power-ups. So you can't really grind while you're on the floor. Instead, all that happens kind of at the end. Kind of like, you know, how you gained your experience points at the end of a day in Harvestella. That's, I think, the best comparison that I can make right there. But you might ask, hey, so what happens if I'm just kind of like chugging along in this floor and then I reach the boss and I can't beat him because, you know, you can't gain experience points during the during the battling, and that happened to me. I got to a boss and I died. I was like, what happens? And then the guy that I was with said, I actually don't know what happens. You got the farthest of anybody else. And I'm like, of course I got the farthest of anybody else. I'm the jrpg freaking master. He's like, I haven't seen anybody get to this boss yet. And I'm like, yeah, damn straight. So what actually happens, that's where the roguelike portion comes into play. Basically, the boss creams you, and then you receive your experience points for what you've accomplished, your deck gets reset, and then you have to try again from the beginning of the stage, only this time, you've been fully healed up, because you don't get, like, healed up between stages, you have to go to, like, healing points and stuff, you know? So you're fully healed up, you get your deck reset, and you get your experience points, so you're a lot more powerful, so you'll be able to make it through. Now, let's talk about that AI implementation right now, because I did mention that earlier, and this is pretty much what it boils down to. At the end of a stage in the mobile version of the game, the Goddess Okami would end up using AI to give you your own unique card based upon what your actions were. But again, in this reworked game, there is no AI whatsoever. They instead chose what cards they liked from that mobile game and then put it into this console game. Kind of like how they picked and chose what they wanted from Octopath Champions of the Continent and they put it into Octopath Zero, that sort of thing. So yeah, basically what you're seeing here is the best of the best, the cream of the crop of these cards, not, you know, AI generated slop. And also, again, these have all been gone over by the team, by the fans, and they've gotten Kaneko's seal of approval too. And that is key, it is his artwork after all. So now let's talk about the combat. The decks are relatively small, maybe 10 cards or so total, and you can only hold 3 cards at a time, so it does make it pretty easy to manage, and again, it's turn-based. Each turn you're allowed 4 action points, and then each card costs a varying amount of action points from 0 to 4. And you can see how many action points they consume in the upper left-hand corner of the card. Down on the bottom of the card, you'll see their attack power over in red, and their defensive power over in green. You can also see your opponent's HP and attack power as well. Not only that, you will get to see the enemy and which card they are attacking, or if they're attacking at all that turn. It might sound a little bit complicated, but I assure you, it's actually really basic and you'll get the hang of it super quickly. I learned it in like 2 minutes, and I'm dumb as hell, so you'll get it. So after I was done playing, I got a chance to interview Mr. Kaneko himself, and he said that he would love to turn this into a series because he genuinely loves the characters. And then I also asked about the generative AI, and that is where I got the clarification. And he kind of laughed, actually, and he said, you know, without it, it would have taken me like 10 years to draw all these pictures. But he also said that he went through and he personally approved every single one in this game. It is his artistry, and it has his stamp of approval on it, so he doesn't have a problem with it because he's consented to it. So I feel like if he doesn't have a problem, then we shouldn't have a problem. It's his artwork after all. So at that point, I was like, okay, you know what? Let's actually, talk about his artwork. And I brought up Mara, and we all know Mara. And at first he was like, Mara? And it must be called something different in Japan. And I pulled up my phone, I was like, yeah, Mara. And I showed it to him. And he was like, oh! And he started laughing. And he told a funny story about it. He said that he actually secretly added it to the NES game, to the first Shin Megami Tensei game on the NES, and he didn't know if it was going to pass through the censors or not, but Nintendo didn't even see it. Then after the fact, a tester who was supposed to see it got in trouble for not seeing it, and they actually had to raise the rating of the game because of it. And the rest is history, and it has been in the games ever since. And I said, did you get in trouble? He goes, no, I'm just the artist. I didn't get in any trouble. The other guy got in trouble. He started laughing. But he also said that he can't use any of his trademark Shin Megami Tensei drawings like Mara or Jack Frost because, it's owned by Sega and Atlas. All told, I had a really good time with the game. It was surprisingly fun, and if you want to pick it up, it will be available digitally on the Nintendo eShop on April the 23rd. But now, I do want to hear from y'all. What do you think about this game? Are you going to be picking it up and trying it out? And if you do like Persona or Shin Megami Tensei, then it's right up your alley. Let me know in the comments what you think about this, and as always, have a good day.